Hey guys, I'm back with another creepy paranormal video. So as you can see, I'm outside today. It is so pretty here today and the wind is not too extreme, so I thought I would sit outside on my deck. So we're back with another episode of Evil Things, Season 1, Episode 5. But before we get started, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Help me grow my channel. Hit that thumbs up and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can always be notified when I post new content. So on to Agatha. This story takes place in Chicago, Illinois in March of 2015. We're dealing with a lady named Molly. Now, Molly says that she had an online channel when all of this was happening, and I'm assuming that she had a YouTube channel. It was 2015 and YouTube had been around for quite some time by then. So I'm assuming that she meant she was a YouTuber and she was more of a online sort of a beauty blogger, but she says that her content was pretty much all over the place. Her real job was a bartender and she was not the best at that. At some point, she actually got fired for forgetting to charge customers from 11 p.m. till closing. And according to the show, I guess she'd done that more than once, so she was let go. I can't say I blame them. I would have fired her as well. Once she lost her job, she also couldn't figure out how she was going to be able to pay rent. She started looking for a new job instantly, and she found a job working for a lady named Betty. Betty needed a caretaker at her home, her big enormous home that she had. However, when Molly got there, she wasn't quite sure why Betty needed a caretaker because Betty was very lively. She was able to get around. She was able to do everything for herself. Quickly, Molly realized that Betty hired her because she was alone. She was lonely and she really just wanted somebody to talk to. Molly was excited about the job because she could live there for free. She also had a regular salary and she would be able to save some money, pay down some debts, and then later get her own place. Her first night there, she took a look around the house and she finds a room that doesn't have a light. So she goes into that room and she's trying to look around, but it's really dark. So she decides to go grab a flashlight. When she gets into the room with her flashlight, she realizes that the room is full of dolls, like a massive doll collection. However, most of the dolls are pretty destroyed. They're pretty gnarly looking. They have been burnt and half of them are sort of melted. And she thought, what a weird situation. And why would anybody keep this many dolls, and especially dolls that are practically destroyed? But she didn't say anything to Betty about it. She decided to make a video on her channel regarding these dolls. So she goes back to her room, which is right across the hall from the room with these weird dolls. And she starts filming her video. In the middle of her video, she realizes in her camera that a candle has been lit in her room. So she rewinds the video because she wants to know, how did this candle get lit? In the video, she can clearly see someone walk over to the dresser and light the candle.
That candle was not lit before. So who the hell did it?
Anyway, this is my first night in this house, and
She just passes it off as if Betty came in and lit the candle and left. Now, my question is, why the hell would Betty walk in there to light a candle? That was really weird for me, but hey, that's what she said. On day 2, Betty asked Molly if she liked her room, and Molly said, yeah, she actually does like her room. And Betty said, well, good, so you don't have to go snooping around all the rooms in the house now. Molly said that she felt like that was a slap on her wrist, so she didn't even ask her about the candle. She didn't want to upset Betty in any way. She decides to go and take a shower, and she gets in the shower and everything's fine. But when she gets out of the shower,
The doll definitely wasn't there when I got in the shower.
and she thought, why would Betty do that? But then she starts thinking to herself, how would Betty get in here, be able to place this doll up against the door with the door closed without her seeing or hearing? That right there That right there would have had me get dressed, grab my luggage, and find a friend's couch to sleep on. No, ma'am. But she didn't say anything. She just took the doll back to the room and shut the door. What? Why would she not mention that? Day 5. In the middle of filming one of her videos, the power completely goes out. And then she hears a bunch of pounding, scratching, and shaking on the door behind her, but she doesn't see anybody. When the lights finally come back on, she realizes that there's scratch marks, like claw marks, all over the door. And she's looking around trying to figure out if some sort of animal has gotten into the house and scratched up her door from the inside without her seeing it. Yep, another time to leave. It's time to go. Something is telling you, ma'am, get the hell out of here. The next day, she asks Betty if she's had any problems with animals getting into the house. And Betty tells her absolutely not, even though it's possible that maybe a bat got in the house. But a bat's not going to scratch up your door like that. I would still move. Even if it was a bat, I'd move. I don't want resident bats. I would move. So anyway, she tells Betty, she says, well, Betty, she said, somehow something got in the house and scratched up my door. When she says that, Betty looks at her crazy and just walks away. Doesn't say a word. What is with people who do that? You don't say anything, you just walk off. Once Betty walks away, Molly instantly starts looking for a new job. She grabs her laptop and she gets to searching furiously for a new job. In the middle of her online search, the power goes out yet again. She is completely freaked out about how the power just keeps going on and off in this house. So she says to herself, I would rather sleep in my car than deal with this crazy weirdness that's happening in this house. So she grabs her laptop and her purse and she heads down the steps so that she could get out of the house. While trying to leave the house, she sees a woman in a silhouette holding a candle, just standing there looking at her. She takes off running, but the next day she comes back, and the producers asked her, they said, why did you come back? And she said because she needed to know what was going on. She needed to know the truth. She had to find out what was going on in that house. So the very next day, she had a conversation with Betty. It turns out the ghost that she saw, her name was Agatha. She was Betty's mentally ill sister. She was mentally unstable and she loved to play with fire. At some point, she had locked everyone in their rooms and set the house on fire. The only person in the family who survived the fire was Betty. Agatha died as well. All of those dolls used to be Agatha's dolls, and Betty saved them. Molly believes that the reason Agatha shows up back at the house is because she went in that room and disturbed those dolls. Betty told Molly that she had not seen Agatha's spirit in a very long time, and it wasn't until pretty much she went into that room and touched those dolls that Betty came back. Needless to say, Molly got the hell out of there, and I would have got out of there as well. No, ma'am. No way I could stay here. It's supposed to be you and me, Betty, not you, me, and Agatha, and those burnt up dolls. Molly was actually able to get her old apartment back and a new job as a waiter, so she was able to continue waiting tables and doing her YouTube channel. However, she didn't lose touch with Betty. She calls Betty every year for Christmas. Betty still lives in the same house. She has not hired a new caregiver, and she has not seen Agatha. Moral of the story, when something strange happens, say something. From the original strange incident, she should have held Betty's feet to the fire. Betty, what's happening here in your house? It's a little odd. It's a little weird. How did this dog get into this bathroom? And why does your electricity keep going out so much? You have to ask questions. It's rough. It's difficult sometimes, but you have to ask questions. Well, this next story is called The Honeymoon. This story takes place in Williamsburg, Virginia in May of 2000. Karen and John, they rent a manor for their wedding. They have people there. Everyone stays overnight. The rest of the guests leave the next day. Karen and John are staying there for the whole weekend. On their actual wedding night, they're tired. The party is over. They're exhausted. Karen wants to change and shower and get ready for bed. She goes into the bathroom and she looks in the mirror, and half of her face is covered with boils, her face and her neck. She screams instantly, and John comes running to find out what's going on. When he gets in there, he's confused as to why she's screaming and hollering. Her face looks perfect. She tells him, just a second ago, my face was covered in boils and so is my neck. And she's totally freaked out and unable to sleep the entire night. She spends her entire night awake, afraid to go to sleep and scared out of her mind. Day 2, they planned on going for a jog. They also planned on relaxing in the house, having some wine, eating some cake, just relaxing, spending their honeymoon together, their first full day of being husband and wife. Her husband, John, decided they wanted to have some cake. So he goes into the kitchen and he opens the box with the cake from just the night before. They had just had this cake. It was their wedding cake. He opens the cake and the cake is covered with flies and maggots. The flies and the maggots just pop out of the box like crazy. John is losing it. He's swatting, trying to get rid of these flies. And then Karen comes in and she's looking at him like, are you crazy? What's happening? And he says, there were flies and maggots all over this cake. And she says, well, where are the flies and maggots now? They just disappeared. John was completely shook. He had no idea what happened. So they decided to chalk it up as just some kind of after effects from the drinking that they had the night before from the wedding, and decided to lace up their shoes and go out for a run. They go out for an 8-mile run and they come back and they find a circle of dead black birds. Just a circle of dead black birds. Now, I'm not a genius. I'm really not. You probably already knew that, right? But anyway, your face and neck boils, then gone. Okay. Then the next morning, flies and maggots, then gone. Yeah, no, we are not drunk. We are not hallucinating. We are not crazy. Hangovers don't really work like this, do they? And then you come back and you find a circle of black dead birds. Nope. It's time to leave the manor. Tell those people they can keep that deposit and whatever you paid. Have it all. We're going to go ahead and leave. It's not you, it's us. We're going to go. Bye. But no. Her husband, John, says, well, maybe all the birds got into some kind of rat poison or something that may be around the house. Oh, that doesn't make me feel better. Why do they have rat poisoning around the house? Are there rats in the manor? I would still go home. Anyway, they decide to stay because these people are brave. Karen says that she didn't think any of the incidents were related. She thought they were a little odd, a little weird, but she didn't think they were related, so she didn't mind staying. Honey, bye. Later on that evening, John and Karen fall asleep laid out in the floor in the living room. However, Karen has a crazy nightmare. She has a nightmare that she wakes up, the door is open, and she wakes up her husband and she says, John, did we leave this door open? And he says no, and decides to get up to go investigate. But when he goes to investigate, he finds a woman with her back turned to him.
Excuse me. Do we know you? Is that your wedding dress? Hey, what are you doing in here? Look, you need to leave before I have to call the...
Karen, it's time to go home. Anyway, Karen wakes up from that dream, and when she wakes up, John is missing. He is not laying next to her anymore. So she goes to find John and ends up slipping in the hallway on a puddle of blood. She follows the tracks of blood and finds John outside in a complete daze with a symbol that he has cut into his arm. John has no idea what the hell has happened. Where did he get this knife? How did he get this symbol in his arm? Why is he bleeding uncontrollably? She rushes him to the hospital, and the hospital think that he's trying to kill himself and tells her to keep an eye on her husband because he might be suicidal. And she's saying there is no way that he is suicidal. He has no idea how this happened. So they decide, oh, well, we're just going to go home now. Okay, really? Now you want to go home? Anyway, it turns out that they were so shook. She calls one of her friends, Amy, over. And Amy says, now, wait a minute, let's rehash this. She said, first you had boils on your face and your neck. Then you saw flies. Then the birds. Then he was cut up. She said, wow, that sounds like some of the plagues from the Bible. Oh my God. And Karen says, what? She says, you know, from the Bible. She said it's supposed to be end times or Satan's coming or something. And so that freaked Karen and John out. So they go to their local priest because they are both Catholic and they want to find out what's going on. So day 6, they head over to their local priest. The priest asks them, were you drunk? Do you remember cutting your arm? Do you know what this symbol means? And John says no. And the priest says, have either one of you participated in any kind of satanic rituals? And both of them looked at each other and thought, Father, are you crazy? No, we have not. Then he asked them about the other incidents that happened. And he brings up the plague as well. He says those are signs in the Bible. He tells them that the symbol cut in his arm is a Hebrew character, which means the number 1. And he says blood is the first of the 10 plagues. This really freaks them the hell out. And I can tell you, sitting on my couch watching that episode, I was freaked out too. I said, oh Lord, why didn't they just leave? What is going on? Because I'm still confused too. Like, what is happening to these people? Then the priest asked them, had they brought any new artifacts into their home? Both of them couldn't think of anything at all that they had brought into their house that was new. Absolutely nothing. So they went home, and that night, Karen was absolutely shook. She could not figure out what is it that we could have possibly purchased or have been given. How could we have come in contact with some kind of article or artifact that was satanic in nature? So she falls asleep. In her sleep, she is outside on her deck.
Have you brought any artifacts into your home?
And then she instantly realized what the artifact was. The only thing that she could remember is it has to be her wedding dress. That's the only thing new that she has purchased. She went and she grabbed her wedding dress and she looked at the label, and inside of it, it says A Satan or something like that. And the priest tells her that it stands for Hail Satan. It turns out that her particular dress that she bought at a secondhand store, pastor believes that this dress that she purchased was used in some sort of satanic wedding ceremony. The priest tells her that 20 years earlier, in a town close to theirs, there was a satanic wedding where the bride killed her groom in front of all of the spectators and then hung herself. And he truly believes that that is the dress that Karen purchased. Nope. No, ma'am. I have said it before and I'll say it again. I don't want any vintage anything. No rings, no dress, nothing. I don't need antiques. I don't want antiques. As a matter of fact, at a wedding, I don't want that something borrowed. Nope, I'm good. Something purchased at the Target. I'll wear that. Don't give me anything borrowed. Her and her husband give the dress to the pastor, and the pastor performs some sort of ritual over the dress and then sets it on fire. Her and John get remarried in a brand new dress and have a honeymoon redo in Hawaii. They have not had any more paranormal experiences, and I am thankful for that. I tell you what, people, People may think that I'm crazy and odd, but that hand-me-down, that vintage stuff, it is a no-go. Don't do it. Save yourself. That's all I'm saying. Until next time, bye.